jump straight into the interview. Kerwin, I'll get you to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and give us a little bit of spiel about some of the things that you've done in the past.
Yeah, of course. Well, my name is Kerwin Ray. You may know me from such films as Get Smart Stupid and Smoke Yourself Thin. But in the real world, I'm a high performance specialist where most of my focus is really put into the area of business. You know, my real, I guess you could say, genius is growing businesses very quickly. But the way that I do that is, through an integration of not just business strategies, marketing strategies, sales strategies, planning strategies, leadership and cultural development, but also understanding how to work with individuals and their mind to really get the best out of them. You know, one of the things that I've learned is you can teach anyone a strategy, but if they don't have their mindset the right way, they'll find a way to fuck it up. That's just how human beings are. And so the first thing that I do when I work with anyone is, I do a lot around the psychology, the performance. You know, I consider myself a scientist in the area of performance. I am just obsessed with how to get the most out of anything, whether it be being a parent, in sport or in business as an entrepreneur, social media, sales, whatever the game is.
Amazing, yeah, awesome. I actually remember you from some of your free events that you run. I've seen 2 of your events, and I really enjoy your speak. You speak with a lot of confidence, and you do provide a lot of value, and I think that's very important now. In business and social media, just to provide as much value as possible. What I wanted to ask you is that how did you get into social media? Like, what was the thing that really got you into it?
Look, the thing that drove me over the edge, I've been buying, building, selling businesses now, working as a consultant in the industry for almost 20 years. It's about almost 19, 20 years now.
Amazing.
And I think it was in 2015, 2016, when was it, Matthias, when I met Gary Vaynerchuk? 15. End of 2015, I hired Gary Vaynerchuk to come and do a keynote speech for us for some of our clients in Las Vegas. And at the back of the room, he absolutely took me apart. I kind of thought, I had 52,000 fans on Facebook, had no Instagram presence, had no, Twitter presence, and I thought I was doing all right. But he really kind of shook my world in a very big way, and he beat me around the head and left me a little bit bloody. And I kind of went away. That was in November, November, December, January. I just went away, and I just knew intuitively that something had to change. And when I came back, I instinctively knew that social media was going to be it. And so it took me a couple of months to hire a filmmaker. Hired my first filmmaker. Then I think it was in the 31st of March or May. 31st of May, we actually launched our social strategy. Which started off with a program, a show called The Social Experiment, which was a documentation of us transitioning from a traditional marketing business to a social media marketing business. And it became like a web documentary that we published, and everything just really was born from there, and we just went from strength to strength.
Yeah, amazing. I remember in some of your seminars that you mentioned you've made quite a lot of money on Instagram, on Snapchat, on Facebook. Can you just give us a quick rundown on what that is and how it works and,
Yeah, look, I think the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to social media is, and again, it's a fair question, how do you make money from social media? And that's often the biggest mistake is people going, how do I make money off social media? And there's a lot of answers to that, and there's a lot of layers to making money off social media. And
Kerwin Ray as well.
Thank you. One of the things that I've learned is if you use social media as a direct marketing tool, you're going to be like most other douchebags, and you're not going to cut through. The thing that I've discovered on social media, whether it's on Snapchat, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on Facebook, they all have their own culture. They all have their own language. But the most important thing is it's a social form of media. And there's nothing worse than being at a party and having some douchebag try and sell you something. When you're out socializing, the last thing you want is someone to sit there and try and pitch you. What you want to do is you want to engage in entertaining, educating, humorous and inspiring conversations depending on what your slant is. And if you find people that you can have conversations with around the topics that you're interested in, you're going to build a relationship with them, aren't you? And you're going to probably, get their number, and you're going to catch up for coffee, and who knows where it can go from there. And with social media, the same is true. It's a social it's a social mechanism. It's a social form of media. So the biggest mistake people make is they try and sell versus try and building relationships. And that's where our cut through has really come from, almost 20 years of knowledge from a depth perspective, and then just fucking sharing everything. I share not only what I do to grow clients' businesses, but I also share all my fuck ups along the way. And can I swear, are your clients kosher? Is it?
Go ahead.
Okay, don't mean any offence. It's just a special added bonus. But yeah, I just focus on showing people what it is that I do, and what I do works. I've been building businesses for almost 20 years now, and there's not many people in the industry in Australia, let alone the rest of the world, that get the results that we do with our clients, from a scale perspective, from a revenue perspective, from a profit perspective. And yeah, by sharing everything that we do, the good, the bad, and the ugly, people relate to it. They find it entertaining, they find it educational, they find it funny, they find it a bit scary, they find it a little bit stressful, because they get to see everything. And then, as a cut through, then we use mechanisms like the ad platforms, to be able to retarget people who watch our content, engage with our content at a high level, to then look at taking them to the next step, which is introducing them to a low level of commitment, which might be an opt-in for something. And again, this is after they've watched in most cases over a dozen videos or more. We really take people through a process of building a relationship with them, before we even introduce the concept or the conversation around sales. And think of it this way: there's nothing worse. Whether you're this is probably worse for women than for men. And I don't mean to be sexist, but there's probably nothing worse for a woman who goes out on a Friday, Saturday night with their friends, and some guy rolls up on her, and the first thing he's trying to do is hit on her, kiss her at the bar and take her straight home. Like, slow down, bro. Like, build a relationship, get to know someone. And there's a very strong sleazy element in business, and social media for some people is just another mechanism to sleaze as a business people. And I don't mean that in an offensive way, because most people don't know any better. I mean that from the context of learning the virtues of social media, and learn how to build relationship with it first, where the sale then comes more naturally. See, what I've learned is the stronger the relationship you have with someone, the less you have to sell. It really comes down to trust, trust, respect. If you can demonstrate your authority through your content, if you can demonstrate you know what you're talking about through your authority, they're not going to question it when they get into the sales environment, and they're going to have a relationship with you by the time that they get there, because they're going to feel like they know you because they've consumed so much of your content.
That makes a lot of sense. Just quickly, Kerwin, who do you help?
Look, predominantly we help business owners. Our target market, we work with business owners from the startup phase, pre-startup phase, but the bulk of our businesses, and we do a lot in that space, but the bulk of our business is working with businesses that are, in most cases, already relatively established, so they've been in business for 12 months or more. The turnover of our clients range from, as I said, startups which are on zero, and our biggest client, probably, rolls in at around 220, 225 million. Some of our clients have no staff, they're solopreneurs. Some of our clients have hundreds of staff. So I work all the way through up to the, depending on how you measure the mid-size businesses. But also, we do a lot of performance work with the general public as well. I used to run a program until about 4 years ago called The Power to Create, which was really a program for anyone. You didn't have to be in business. It was just around the psychology of performance and the psychology of transformation. But we incorporate many aspects, not just psychology, neurology, neurobiology, quantum mechanics, particle physics, and many other aspects of different forms of science, neurochemistry, just to bring it together to help people understand how they can perform at higher levels. And what's interesting, the majority of our audience on social media, they're actually not in business. They follow us because, we give great life hacks on parenting, on sport, on relationships, on, just performance. And you can express that in any form, in a business, in a relationship, as a parent, wherever you choose.
Yeah, I've noticed that, So I've got another question for you. What has impacted you the most on, being on social media? What was the biggest impact for you?
Look, the biggest impact for me was, that's a great question. I think it's the cut through and not realising the impact that we had. We probably receive at least one message a month now from people who whereby we've prevented a suicide, as an example. We've got hundreds, if not thousands, of messages from people, not only where we've saved lives, saved marriages, saved businesses, but the ones that really touch me the most are the ones whereby they've got onto Facebook to say their goodbyes. They've got their pills ready, they've got their potion ready, they're ready to do the deed to exit this world. And then as they're saying, going around getting ready to say their goodbyes or even write their goodbye note, a video pops up into their feed, and it changes their whole perspective. And as a result, you know, they put the potion down and they take a step back and go, I'm going to give life another crack. And I've lost count of how many messages that we've got. And I know that has nothing to do with business, but, you know, that's it. You know, when you save I've got goosebumps. Like when you save someone's life, you know, and they dedicate that to you, not only is that impactful, it's a huge responsibility, you know, and I don't take that lightly. I know I'm here to create change, but I didn't realise until social came about exactly how much change that we were going to affect. You know, we've now had I think it's almost just over 750 million views just on Facebook, just in the last 2.5 years, and that in itself, most of that is organic, and that in itself is a testament, you know, to the value that people receive from what it is that we do and the impact that we have on their lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what advice would you give entrepreneurs, like, you know, starting out on social media or business owners?
Look, don't wait. First of all, get in there. You know, we've got it. I think most people right now, it's getting harder and harder, and I think we've probably got maybe a 3-year window before it becomes super hard to penetrate and cut through. You know, you often hear people talk about there's layers to things. You know, the internet was, you know, it was something that was born, you know, that really disrupted everything. And then the first few people who came and put their layers across the top of that, you know, really established themselves as strong brands. And they're like they're the Googles, they're the Apples, they're the Facebooks, they're the Instagrams. And now when you look at that social space as an example, it's pretty well fixed. You know, you're not really hearing about too many new social media platforms coming through because the market is pretty captured now. And that's not to say others won't. I'm sure there'll be cut through here and there, but it's freaking hard, right? And now you've got the other layers on top of those social platforms. You know, you've got the personalities and the brands. And, you know, there's only going to be a limited time available for people to really take a position in those platforms in the market before, you know, it becomes increasingly more difficult to break through to the point where it's going to be almost impossible. And you're going to need something so unique and so incredibly amazing and so viral in order to make any moves whatsoever. So my advice is get in now and understand that social media is a social media. You know, it's not a direct sales medium. It's not a direct marketing medium. It's really a medium to build relationships. And the way that you build relationships is through relativity, by, you know, delivering content that people can relate to. So be authentic, be yourself, be genuine. Don't try and be someone that you're not, because, you know, we live in a world where, you know, so many people are pretending to be something that they're not, that oftentimes they end up, you know, forgetting who they are. And when you kind of enter that space, it's really mentally unhealthy. And, you know, they say, Theodore Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. And so that's one other piece of advice that I'd give people is stop comparing yourself to other people on social media. You know, compare yourself to you, because if you compare yourself to, you know, to you or to Gary Vaynerchuk or Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or myself, you know, and you're just starting out, there's going to be such a contrast that it's going to be, in some cases, almost debilitating. For some people, it'll be inspiring, and that's what they like. They like the chase. But my advice is don't compare. Focus on your game. Stay in your lane. You know, run your race and find a way to deliver genuine value. And I'm not talking about, because some people mistake authenticity and value. They think if I just get on, you know, a social platform and I just do a live, you know, lives typically have, you know, considerably more reach than a standard video. But what a lot of people don't realise, Sam, you know, some people have been training, you know, for, you know, up to a decade before they get on a broadcast on a desk and they do live television. Whereas you've got chumps that are getting on and doing live broadcasts that have no training whatsoever, and it's fucking obvious. There's no editing, and you know, and if you get on and, you know, you do a live and you're a bit of a chump, and people say, well, it's just practice. I say, but well, are you adding value or are you doing damage? You know, because if you're doing damage to your brand with lives, and that's why my advice is don't do lives until you've got a bit of a handle on what it is that you're doing, because you could end up doing a little bit more damage to your brand than actually, you know, than good.
Helping, yeah, of course, yeah. That's great. You're dropping some serious gems here, Kerwin. Like, I'm loving so far, like, everything you've mentioned, and authenticity, I think it's a big part of what you do, and really resonate with that.
Thanks, mate.
Like, I guess, like, to wrap this up, I understand you're a busy man, and I've got things to do as well. So, like, any final words you want to use to wrap up the interview, and, you know, give us something to really motivate us, you know, using social media or in business in general?
Look, I'd like to end the conversation, whether it's social media, whether it's life, whether it's love, whether it's, you know, fitness, just get off your ass. Just fucking do something. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean that in a way that, you know, that you don't know when your clock is going to run dry. And, you know, I feel very fortunate. This is going to sound a bit strange. You know, I've nearly lost my life over half a dozen times. And when you nearly die that many times in that many serious accidents and altercations, you start to have this real appreciation, not just for life, but for time. And when you have that appreciation for life and for time, you don't take that shit for granted. The challenge for most people is they think they're going to live forever, and they're fucking not. And when you start to have a level of relativity around the length of your life and the unknown and the uncertainty about how long you could potentially live, then you start to realize, fuck, I could only be here for another day. And I think with that mentality, some people say, "Oh, that's a bit of a negative or a bit of a scary mentality." No, it's an awaken. That's a woken spirit. We need to live while we're alive, not wish we had when we're facing death. Because when you're facing death, which I have on many occasions, I can tell you right now, you start thinking about all the fucking things you wish you had done. And I feel very blessed with the gift of life now. I'm waking up every day with air in my lungs and blood in my veins, and the ability to see, the ability to walk, the ability to be able to even just pick up a pen and talk to another human being and hear what someone is saying. Because it's not until you lose some form of ability, whether the ability to breathe, the ability to walk, the ability to use your hands or your eyes or your nose or your mouth or your ears, that you start to go, shit, I really took that shit for granted. But wait until you almost lose your life. Then you start to realize all the things you've taken for granted. So my advice is live now. Don't tiptoe, because most people tiptoe through life, hoping they get to death safely. Everyone's going to die. You're all going to fucking die. My question is, how are you going to live, while you are alive? And, what's it going to take in order for you to really, push through with that?
Exactly. Amazing, points and gems you've dropped through, so far in this interview. I don't know if you have any other questions for me or anything else you want to do before we wrap this up.
No, man. I appreciate your time, brother. I appreciate your interview. I appreciate you out there doing the work, and keep hustling, brother.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, no worries. I'm going to end this. I'm going to save this live interview right on my profile, which is going to go up for 24 hours.
Brilliant.
Kerwin will do that also, and just in case anyone else that want to see the interview that haven't had a chance to. And thanks, guys. Thanks, Kerwin, for
you got
the info and gems dropped.
Anytime.
Hope to talk to you soon.
Anytime. Take care, Sam. Speak soon, mate. Peace.